What's going on, guys? It's Trey Carter, aka Captain Combat. We're gonna bring another video to you guys today because I had a really interesting, good question that I can actually speak from personal experience myself as I was coming up in the ranks, and just different observations and things I've noticed with other people that struggled with the same thing. One of the questions I had in the comments was actually about what do you do with somebody that still has a fight or fighting mentality that when they're rolling or working new techniques, they explode really hard at random moments, potentially injuring themselves or injuring their training partners. So I come from a wrestling background. So I wrestled from pretty much like the 3rd or 4th grade all the way up through high school. Took about 6 months off and still had the itch of wanting to do something grappling wise. Now, thankfully, as big as the UFC was kind of up and coming at the time, I got interested in Jiu Jitsu. So I started in about like 2010, the end of 2009-ish, and started doing Jiu Jitsu. I didn't come from like a fight background, like a tough neighborhood, fighting all the time, sometimes I have a chip on my shoulder. I was just very scrappy. I loved wrestling, and that was my mentality. I had that literally beaten into my brain that when you start moving, you keep moving and you keep fighting. Logically speaking though, when I started doing jiu-jitsu, I noticed that everybody started to get a little hurt around me, okay? Whether it was me spinning for no reason at all and literally landing elbows on people's heads, accidentally kneeing people. Now keep in mind, I have no intention of hurting somebody. I'm not thinking, oh, this is a good idea. Let me go and spin and try to get past this person's guard while I elbow them in the head. At no point in time has that ever been my intent. Thinking about with some of the other training partners that I have that are new and coming up, maybe let's say like a little bigger. This is not a maybe, this person actually is a little bit bigger. I walk around by like 184 and I'll float up to about 191-ish after I've eaten a lot of water, fill in the blank. But this person's about 225, flirting with 230, right? And they'll go really hard, right? They're a white belt. I'm a brown belt myself, right? So they'll be going, and a couple times, there'll be some bumps and bruises. Now, this one's actually for one of my good friends. He's actually a purple belt, super talented dude, really big. And I actually just filmed a video yesterday that I'll be posting later. Kind of feeling bad because I said he weighs about 240, 250. But I just learned yesterday he actually weighs 270. Kind of makes a little sense, but he doesn't feel that heavy. Like he doesn't move like you would think somebody at 270 pounds does. The dude's a legit athlete. Anyways, what I've noticed is that there's such a competitiveness to some people that they want to win and they'll do whatever they have to do to win. Whether they're in knee cut and they'll explode really hard to their left and not realizing they're putting their knee in jeopardy, right? They may not necessarily hurt their partner, but chances are if you have somebody that plays a pretty good half guard or quarter guard, not that they're trying to get to quarter guard, but they're playing knee cut, they're just throwing and throwing, they're not gonna get anywhere, but they could hurt themselves. So there's a couple ways that you can go about this, and unfortunately there's not like a magic pill that works for everybody. But I have one at the very end that was actually used on me, and it's actually a mixture of both of these two things. Really, I think the second one is probably what worked the most, that set up for the first suggestion I have for you that ended up working. So first suggestion, pretty simple, just have a meeting and conversation with them. Explain to them, understanding that like, look, you have a competitive background, you have a competitive nature, you like to fight, and I think that is absolutely incredible. Here's the thing though, the thing you love to do requires people, okay? You could maybe do some jiu-jitsu by yourself, like with a dummy, but I'm gonna tell you, it gets really boring really quick, and then you feel like the dummy you're rolling with because they're not doing anything, they're just laying there. So when you're rolling with people, it's not that you go easy on them, but focus on the techniques that you're focusing on. Like for example, I made a video talking about how one of the 3 easy ways you get better at jiu-jitsu, which you can go look at that, is studying film. So when you're studying film, drilling certain techniques, focus on putting yourself in those scenarios and actually trying to focus on that technique. That is a good conversation to have with your actual student so they understand that, hey, I love the fighting portion of jiu-jitsu. I love what jiu-jitsu does for me. I have to make sure though that I protect my teammates that are around me and just not randomly flail and just throw my arms, elbows everywhere while I'm so focused on trying to win when there's nothing at the end of the tunnel if I win that match. Like seriously, in the gym, there are no medals for doing well in the gym. What can happen though is that if you don't have control over when you're training hard, you can injure your teammates to where your teammates don't want to train with you anymore, or they're injured and they actually cannot train with you anymore. The other thing I would say is actually the second way. Actually, let's take a step back. I still have one thing to add on there as well. One thing that could help, that's a little bit of behind the scenes while you're talking with them, is focus more on situational sparring. This is a good tool and resource, especially, let's say, we just got done teaching last week with Kisikatame, or you can call it scarf hold position, to where they were working that technique on control. So if you have something that's a little out of hand, put them in the position that you're working on. So in this situation, you would either put them in or on top of, to where they had scarf hold, and then you have them situationally spar there. So that guy gets a sense of still having to fight and being able to work and spar, but it's more situational based while you're working through with that person that understands like, hey, like our goal is not to hurt our team. Here's the other way, and this is actually the way that worked me the most, and God bless my coach. His name's Brian Subner, super talented black belt, though I am a little bigger and let's just say a little stronger as well, especially if he sees this video. He'll probably tell you the exact same, at least the stronger part. But this way is actually, it gets kind of beaten out of you over a period of time, where you start to realize that the harder you fight, the more I get submitted. And then when you tie those things into when my body, sometimes my brain may not always get it, but once I'm trying to do the things I'm trying to do that's maybe not good for my jiu-jitsu or good for other people around me, that I get beat, I do something and I get beat, I do something and I get beat, I get caught, I get submitted. And then with those lessons, the physical portion right, then there's conversation after that as well. So for someone like myself, when I started, which was super dumb white belt, thinking that, oh, I'm super competitive, look what I did, this belt, I'm going hard, boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden I'm rolling with my coach, or some of the higher belts, I'm getting submitted and I'm getting beat. So then my ego especially, it breaks it for a moment, which in my opinion, in my belief, it's gonna have them most susceptible to willing to understand and take that feedback for a moment. So you have a round, you go with them, you submit them a handful of times, have that conversation, and it's gotta come from, in my opinion, a point of you're not attacking them, but you're focusing on the behavior, right? Like hopefully this is a student you want with you long-term, and if that's the case, really focus on showing them that jiu-jitsu will beat whatever ego they're gonna bring in with them that's focused on a lot of strength, a lot of random explosiveness that has no rhyme or reason whatsoever. That would be my suggestion with that. There are unfortunately situations where if they're hurting too many people, you may need to part ways with that person. That's just the fact, because like, especially at our school, our association with Kaiotera, it's very much so focused on the community. We wanna obviously make sure that we train hard, everybody's giving 110% and having fun, and it has to be a safe environment. That doesn't mean you never spar and you run risk of getting some black eyes or bumped up or bumps and bruises, but it has to be somebody that's willing to add to that culture. It has to be someone that's willing to add to the team and not take away. Because let's be real, a lot of your students, unless you're like Atos in San Diego, a lot of your students are hobbyists. They have jobs, they have families, they have other things they need to do. And this is a great escape for people, whether it's dealing with mental health, whether it's dealing with stress, you fill in the blank. Jiu-Jitsu does so much, and it is absolutely essential for people's lives. So quick review, first thing, have that conversation with them and be genuine. Focus on attacking the behavior and not the person. The second one, which I think goes really well with the first one, you unfortunately have to beat it out of them. You have to show them that the way that they're doing it is wrong. And you may need to have a conversation with them too. It's like, hey man, like as hard as you're going and what you're doing to some of the students, I'm gonna have to not let you roll with some of these people for a little bit. My suggestion though, don't do it in front of the team. This needs to be a one-on-one private conversation and go from there. I hope this was helpful. There's no magic pill to do this, but this worked with me. It's helped me a lot to have more control, to where I progressed from a white belt all the way up to a brown belt to one day getting to that black belt. But it takes time, and unfortunately it takes a lot more than just one conversation sometimes. Some people learn it quick, but from my experience, I've never heard of somebody that has that opportunity and learned it after one conversation. If you know of somebody, let me know. I hope this was helpful, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. If you guys have any questions, comments, let me know in the comment section below. Please do not forget to hit that red button. It is subscribe, hit that thumbs up. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.